Hey everybody, Uber Dante here, and we're back with more games that you can play with the Flipword deck. Today, let's look at game number 3, which is co-op Flipword. With 2 players, and players sit opposite each other with the cards between them and look at the conditions on opposite side of the cards. So each player is looking at their own set of conditions. And plays the same way as the solo game, the base game, and a turn ends after both players have said a legal answer, and the goal is just to complete the round as quickly as possible. You can use the 1 rotation rule from the base game, once per game by either player, but if you use that, it means the other player also has to come up with a word with the new conditions, even if they had already given an answer for the original conditions. Let's look at what that will look like on the playingcards.io app. So here I've slightly altered the playingcards.io room so that there's 2 players. And there's a thing you can do in PCIO where one player views the board upside down. So one person will be looking at these top conditions. So they'll be trying to come up with something sweet, calm, or gentle at a school or park, where the second letter comes before the first alphabetically. And the second player will be looking at the card, the opposite. So this board is upside down, so they're on the opposite side of the table, and they're looking at something that's in a store, wild or free, and has no repeated vowels. So when both players complete theirs, then you'd click on the next. And the next 3 cards come up. You can use the 1 rotation rule like that, but then it would affect both players. Okay, game number 4, casual play. This game I showed in the introduction video, so check that video out if you haven't already. And Team Flipword works in kind of the same way as the co-op. You'll have teams of 2 players each, and teammates sit across from each other with the cards in between them. So this is 4 players with 2 teams, 6 players, 3 teams. I guess you can play with more players if you like. And players only give answers for their side. They don't help their teammates. And each turn there's going to be 2 points instead of 1, so 1 point for each side of the card. So there's kind of like, if you're playing, let's say 6 people, 3 are playing on one side of the card, the other 3 are playing on the other side of the card. Okay. This, you can also use the 1 rotation rule for this game, and that doesn't affect the other side if the answer's already been given. So the setup would be like this, and on this side of the table there'll be 1 person of each team is sitting. So if you had, let's say you're playing with 6 people, you have 3 teams, each one has 2 people, so 1 person is sitting on this side, and they're competing against the other 2 people on the same side to try to come up with an answer for this one. At the same time, their partner is on the opposite side. We're here looking at these 3, tiring a location, and starts with I, trying to come up with something for these. So when both of those have been met, you score a point, so it's 2 points per round, and then you go on to the next group. Okay, game number 7 is the in-hand meditative play. I also showed in the first video, the introduction video. So we'll skip ahead to the next one. So game number 8 is hands Flipword. And this plays a little bit different depending on how many people you have, but you'll be, instead of having the cards on the table, people have the cards in their hand, and instead of just using the 1 condition on the top of the cards that you can see, you can look at what's in your hand and flip the cards, rotate the cards until you find a suitable answer. So let's check it out for 4 players. No one looks at the deck. You pass the deck behind their back. Each player takes 2 cards. They keep them behind their back. The last, so with 4 players, that'll be 8 cards. There's 1 card left. The player takes the remaining card, places it on the table. As soon as they place it on the table, the other players all look at the cards in their hand, and they're trying to find a word that fits 3 conditions. So 1 from the table, and you can use the top or bottom condition, and 1 from each of the 2 cards in their hand. So still 3 conditions, but you're able to kind of move the cards around in your hand, and it's the first person to play their cards and shout out a legal answer is the winner. Okay. And then there's you can play more rounds if you want. With 3 players, there's no table card. Each player just takes 3 cards and they try to find one. And the 2 player is quite interesting. Each player takes 4 cards and leaving 1 table card. So you need to find a word that satisfies 5 different conditions. So that's quite interesting. So let's look at what that might be like. So here I've set up a game for 4 players, and you could just click on this 4-player game. Each player would then get 2 cards. I could flip this card. I can, an animal that has you and not a 5-letter word, and then I can just say like, wow, buffalo. I'll try to be the fastest. Okay, so let's remove this player. If it was 3 players, everyone would get 3, and there'd be no table card. You just do whatever you want with these cards. Okay. And if we remove this player, if we just have a 2-player game, you'd have all these cards in your hand. Alternatively, you could just not play with one of these. You just say, I'm going to play with 3. But let's do 4. So you try to think of something that satisfies these, and you can flip them again, you can rotate them again, and you also have to use either this, all letters are different, or has 2 of the same letter. Okay. Great, so the last game is game number 10, which is called Bluff Flipword, and it's played with 2 players. Each player gets 4 cards. And you place 1 card on the table, and players are looking at the same condition, the top condition, and then taking turns, the players are going to add a card from their hand to the table. So each time they're adding 1 condition, and they don't say any words, they're just thinking of a word that might fit them. And after a turn, the opposing player can say, I don't think there's a word. You don't have a word. They kind of challenge them. It's a bluffing game. And then if that player cannot come up with a word, the challenger wins. If they are able to come up with a word, the challenger loses. And also the player can also win if they can place a 9th card and also come up with a word. So let's look at that. Okay, so here we are in another room I made. So to start off, we'll just do a new game. You're going to get some set of cards here. Player 1 has some set of cards here, and the first condition is ends with R. Okay, so then they kind of think of something. Okay, I know something. They can play anything from the card. They can flip these. They can rotate them. Okay. Okay, so it starts with R and just kind of place that in there. Next player's thinking, okay, I can think of a word that starts and ends with R. That's easy, but how about one that has 3 syllables? So each time you're kind of adding something in there, and then you're kind of thinking about it. Okay, is there a word like that starts ends with R, has 3 syllables, or are they just bluffing? And kind of game goes back and forth like that. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so now I think I've shown all of the ways you can play with the Flipword deck. If you haven't tried any of these and you have the deck, give it a try. And if you can think of any other ways that you can play with the deck, please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching.